Lesson 88, Video Part 1. Okay, so let's start out with fraction multiplication. Last time you learned a rule about multiplying by fractions. If the fraction we multiply is less than 1, we end up with less than what we started with. If we multiply by more than 1, we end up with more than what we started with. So, here are some problems. Make that one lower down. Excuse me as I set this up. All right, all these problems start with 5/2. What number do they all start with? Pause the video. 5/2. So, read problem A. Pause the video. 5/2 times 2/3. Do you multiply by a fraction that is more than 1 or less than 1 for problem A? Less than 1. So do you end up with more than 5/2 or less than 5/2? Less than 5/2. Read problem 2. Pause the video. 5/2 times 2/1. So, do you multiply by a fraction that is more than 1 or less than 1? Pause the video. More than 1. So, do you end up with a number that is greater than or less than 5/2? Greater than. All right, read problem C. Pause the video. 5/2 times 4/5. So, do you end up do you multiply by a fraction that is more than 1 or less than 1? Less than 1. So do you end up with more than 5/2 or less than 5/2? Less than 5/2, because that's a smaller one. Okay, so I want you to copy these problems now and work them. Don't simplify, just multiply. So pause the video and solve these equations. All right, so 5/2 times 2/3 is 10/6. 5/2 times 2/1 equals 10/2. 5/2 times 4/5 equals 20/10. So, the problem starts with 5/2. Do you multiply by a fraction that is more than 1 or less than 1 for problem, sorry, don't mind what I just said. So, you have now solved A, B, and C. I didn't say simplify, I just said multiply and solve. So, now we know when it's saying you're going to end up with something that is less than 5/2. There. Or you're saying that this is the same as this. So, moving on to mixed number operations. We're going to work subtraction problems by rewriting a mixed number. So, here's an example. Read the problem. Pause the video. 5 3/8 minus 2 6/8. So, pause the video and read the fraction for the fraction piece. 3/8 minus 6/8. Can we work this problem? No. So we rewrite 5 3/8. We take 1 from the 5 and add it to the 3/8. So we're going to cross this out, turn that into 4, and turn this, so we're taking 8 out of 8, so now it's 4, and adding it over here. So this, we're adding 8/8 to 3/8, so now we have 11/8. This is our new fraction. Now, can we work, so we rewrite it. What's the new whole number? 4. We turn the 5 to 4 because we took out 8/8 and put it over here. So now we can subtract 11/8 minus 6/8. So let's solve. Pause the video and solve. We have 5/8, 2 and 5/8. So, now we are going to move on to problem B. New equation, 7 1/4 minus 5 2/4. Read the problem for the fractions. Pause the video. 1/4 minus 2/4. Can we work that problem? No. You can't do 1 minus 2. So, we're going to rewrite it. We're going to rewrite 7 1/4. We're going to take out 4/4 from here and turn this into a 6. We're going to add the 4/4 over here, so this will become 5/4. So, what's the new whole number for this part? 6. What's our new fraction? 5/4. So, let's pause I want you to pause the video and now work the problem. So, your new 5, so it'll be 1 3/4 is your answer. Moving on, another example. We have 9 2/5 minus 6 3/5. Pause the video and read the equation. 9 2/5 minus 6 3/5. So, can I do 2/5 minus 3/5? Pause the video. No. So, I need to borrow from the 9. Pause the video and set that up now. This is what you should have done. Should have borrowed, turn that into an 8, put the 5/5 over here, turn this into a 7. So now, this is your new equation. Pause the video and solve. So your answer would be 4/5, and this is 2. 2 4/5. All right. So, pause the video and open your textbook to lesson 88 and find part 1. Continue when ready. So, these directions first tell about a quantity, then tell about multiplying. Problem A, show the quantity 300 divided by 6, then show the number you multiply by in front. That's 7. Write the problem, then stop. So problem A says, show the quantity 300 divided by 6, then multiply by 7. So remember, show the quantity 300 divided by 6, then multiply by 7. This is what it should look like. Problem B, show the quantity 27 minus 7 minus 10, Then multiply by 8. If you remember from the previous lesson, I walked you through these 2 steps. Rewatch those videos if you need to from lesson 87. So, again, problem B says show the quantity 27 minus 7 minus 10, then multiply by 8. So, first write out the first part, 27 minus 7 minus 10. That goes into a parentheses. Then your second step is to do the next part, which says then multiply by 8. 8 goes on the outside of the parentheses. All right. Do problems C, D, and E on your own. Pause the video and work them. Here are your answers. This is how you solve, or set it up. You're not solving them, you're just setting up what it's asking you to do. All right, pause the video and find part 2 in your textbook. All right, part 2 in your textbook. All these problems divide. For one type of problem, you divide by a whole number. For the other type, you divide by a fraction. Problem A, there are 28/3 gallons of paint. The paint is divided equally into 4 containers. How many gallons are in each container? So, what is the problem that you write? Pause the video. The problem you write is 28/3 divided by 4. I don't know why I just wrote a 3. 28/3 divided by 4. So you'll divide by a whole number right there. Now, problem B. There are 28/3 gallons of paint. The paint is poured into containers that each hold 4/3 gallons. How many containers will be filled? So, what problem will you write? Pause the video. You're going to be writing 28/3 divided by 4/3. This is A. This is B. Divided by 4/3. Work problem A. Remember to simplify and write your answer as a mixed number and a unit name. So, pause the video now and work problem A and problem B. All right, so let's start with problem A. I'll erase this part. So as we know, when you're dividing, you're actually going to turn it into a fraction, because this would be over 1, so the reciprocal is 1/4. So then you are going to have this. 28/3 times 1/4. Well, you can divide 28 and 4. Remember, we're trying to reduce the fraction before we solve it. This is where you actually divide a fraction, not turn it into multiplication. So what's 28 divided by 4? 7. So what you're going to do, you'll cross this out here and here. The answer, when you're diagonally dividing to reduce, goes with the bigger number. So 28 divided by 4, 7. 7 goes there. That would be a 1, but you don't need it anymore. So now you multiply straight across since you've reduced the fractions. So 7 times 1, 7. 3 times 1, 3. You have 7/3. Guess what? Top-heavy fraction. So you can turn that into a whole number with a mixed whole number. So how many times can it go in there? What's the answer? 2 1/3 gallons. Boxing in your answer. Whoops. So, this is what you should have. Next one, problem B. Work problem B. Pause the video. So, this obviously will get turned into its reciprocal. So your new equation is going to be 28/3 times 3/4. These can all be cross-divided. 28 and 4, those can all, 28 divided by 4 is 7. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So, you have 7/1 and 1/1, giving you 7/1, which also equals what? 7. 7 what? 7 containers. All right. Now I want you to do problem C and D on your own. Pause the video and work them now. Here's what you should have. Problem C. 7/4 divided by 4 equals 7/4 times 1/4, which equals 7/16 of a pound. Don't need to do anything with that fraction. It's just how it is. Can't be simplified, and it's not top heavy. Problem D. 8/3 divided by 2/5 equals 8/3 times 5/2. Those 8 divided by 2 is 4. So going straight across gives you 20/3. 20 divided by 3. 3 can go into 20. How many times? 3 times 6 is 18. What's left over? 2. So 6 2/3 servings. Box in your answer. All right, so we are going to switch gears into averages. Please go to the next video, part 2, where we will start off with averages.